We are that adventure couple, and these are the beautiful temples of Koh Ker Cambodia. Welcome back to another adventure in Cambodia. Today we are touring Koh Ker Temples. This one behind us is the main temple. It's a 7-tiered pyramid, and then there are a bunch of smaller temples around it, sort of like at Angkor Wat. If you haven't seen our Angkor Wat video, I'll put a link for it right up here.
We highly recommend getting up early to go do this one. This one, it's pretty easy to do without a guided tour. We just hired a car to take us out here. It is about 2 hours outside of Siem Reap. The great part about getting up early to do it is no one else is around, 1. And 2, the weather here, it is so warm during the day that getting up this early is going to be great for the weather.
These are the ruins that lead up to the main temple. The Koh Ker temples are located in the middle of the jungle, so it really is a serene experience. When we arrived in Koh Ker, we were instructed to be sure and stay on the designated pathways. There are still active landmines in the area from the war about 50 years ago. In fact, while we were traveling around to some of the smaller temples in the area, we even saw a crew actively trying to remove the landmines. We got up early and got here right when they opened, and so there's nobody else here. We have this whole temple to ourselves. It's fantastic. This temple was built around 921 AD, making it around 200 years older than Angkor Wat. One of the best parts about visiting the temples in Cambodia is that the tourists get to get up close and personal with the temples. In this case, that means we get to climb the pyramid. In total, the 7 tiers of this pyramid reach an impressive 118 feet high. From the top of the pyramid, you can see for miles over the jungle in all directions. They use 2 types of stone to build these temples. This one seems to be primarily the sandstone, which is this one, but there's some lava rock up here on the top too. That's the other stone that they use. Since this temple isn't covered, most of the carvings have weathered away, but you can still see some of the big ones, like these guys here. Quite a few stairs to get up to the top, but they're not nearly as steep as some of the ones at Angkor Wat. When we were finished exploring the main temple, we headed back to the parking lot so we could get back in our car and travel around to some of the smaller temples. If you're visiting Koh Ker at around lunchtime, there are a couple places, just like little local restaurant huts here at the main temple where you can get some lunch. At Koh Ker, there are a whole bunch of smaller temples in various states of disrepair, but they are like 1,000 years old, so you expect them to be falling apart a bit or have been destroyed over the years. A lot of them are just rubble on the ground, and some of them are still just buried underground, but there are several that are like this. The sanctuaries or shrines are often seen in groups of 3, typically facing to the east.
This temple is extremely unique because of its black coloring. The name translates to the Black Lady. One legend is that it was made for the goddess of destruction.
Okay, so it's a little bit confusing in Cambodia because there's two main religions, Hinduism and Buddhism. And so a lot of the Hindu temples have been converted to Buddhism temples and whatnot. When these were originally built, I think they were Hindu temples, and we were told that these had the water stone in them. The water drips down from the top when it rains and runs over the stone and then fills the little trough around it. And when it runs over the stone, it becomes holy water because it's a special stone called a linger. And these were shrines dedicated to Shiva.
Our last stop in Koh Ker was Prasat Pram. This is an absolute must-see. It's a grouping of 5 buildings, with 3 of them along one side being the sanctuaries or shrines, and then the 2 facing them from the other side were libraries.
So there's a grouping of little small temples together, and a couple of them have the parasite trees growing on them. And these are really cool. Look at that. This one's probably my favorite. It's really cool for pictures.
After we had explored the temples of Koh Ker, we started making our way back towards Siem Reap, but we had one stop to make in the middle at Prasat Beng Mealea. Although this is nearly an hour away from the main Angkor Wat Temple, it's still considered part of the Angkor Wat Temple complex, so if you have the multi-day pass, you can visit this temple as well. If you are making the trip up to Koh Ker, I highly recommend stopping at this temple. This temple in the jungle is absolutely massive, and it's been destroyed by war and not been reconstructed, so you can see what it's like in its natural state. If you'd like to have a guided group tour of Koh Ker, I will put a link for one in the description of the video. The guided group tours also stop at this temple.
It's amazing that many of these temples are over 1,000 years old, yet the carvings are still so visible, even though they've had tons of rain and weathering.
I've really enjoyed this temple. It has largely not been reconstructed. There's been very little of anything done, so you can kind of see how it looked after it was all war-torn and everything. It's back in the jungle, so it's really peaceful in here. It's shaded, so it's not real hot. It's really majestic. I like it. This is definitely worth a visit. If you have the 3-day Angkor Wat pass, it gets you in here too.
This will conclude our tour of the Koh Ker temples. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure.